God's law requires perfect obedience. We've learned in Romans chapter 6 from the Apostle Paul, he tells us that God's grace is amazing that he's poured out on us. But his grace does not make his law as nothing. We still must be obedient to the law. Anyone who's trusted in Jesus for salvation will obey. For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under law, but under grace. It's clear that all who are genuine Christians are free from the slavery of sin. Christians will obey God. Let's put that aside. If God's law does not save us, then why did God give us the law? Why? Let's discuss that now. Paul, he wrote to the Romans, both the Jews and the Gentiles, who knew the law. They'd been taught this, and he explained to them that the law always has dominance over all. Or do you not know, brothers, for I am speaking to those who know the law, that the law is binding on a person only as long as he lives? What Paul is saying, simply, is that all people, no matter if they're believers or non-believers, doesn't matter, all people are required that they must live according to God's law from birth till death. They must. It's God's standard. It just means it's his rule. His standard requires us to be perfect, fully obedient to him. That's his law, and it's made to show us that we sin. Now the law came in to increase the trespass. Of course, no person, including Adam and Eve, has ever satisfied the standard of the law. No one has been perfectly obedient. Anyone? No person. God can't lower his standard for us. He can't. If he lowered his standard, it would mean that he isn't holy. Why? Because diminishing it would mean he's not holy, period. So if we do not live according to the law, meet the standard, what hope do we have? We're stuck with the law. Since we've sinned against it, we're stuck. For a married woman is bound by law to her husband while he lives, but if her husband dies, she is released from the law of marriage. Accordingly, she will be called an adulteress if she lives with another man while her husband is alive. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law, and if she marries another man, she is not an adulteress. That verse is a very good illustration that Paul uses to make the point of being stuck with the law until finally we're released. When we die. Well, what about divorce? What about that? Means we can't be divorced? No, of course, that is permitted in some situations, and there's verses about that we'll learn about later. But for now, that's not the point. Let's put that aside. Paul just meant that in a normal, regular marital relationship, the spouses are not released from each other. They cannot be until one dies. That's the only way they're released. As long as they live, that they will be married. It's the same as the law. As long as we're alive, we obey the law. That's the point, nothing more. Now let's apply this to our Christian life. Do you understand that you're under God's authority all the time? We are. There's some people, many, that believe that we are not, that the law does not apply to us, but that's not true. Paul teaches the opposite. And we'll study more about this in chapter 7. It's important that we ask God to give us understanding, and also that we love the role of the law in our lives. And thirdly, that our love increases for God. Now back to the original question in the devotion. The question was, if the law does not save us, then why did God give us the law? Well, the next video, we'll talk about that. Some people say that we must follow the Old Testament law, and that causes confusion about justification and sanctification. People get them all mixed up. We need to be careful and study chapter 7 of Romans and other verse, and then we will understand about this. That the role of the law and how it plays in our life will help us to understand that justification happens and then sanctification. And justification supports sanctification, not the other way around. It must happen in this order. Both. The Old Testament and the New Testament teach that. The New Testament opens up the mystery clearly about Jesus Christ and his work that perfectly satisfied the standard for us. I hope that you will study chapter 7 with me to help you to understand about this. Curum Dio.